Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Congressman Mike Levin, and we're here with our IRS Congressional District Liaison to talk about something that impacts thousands of families in our district, the child tax credit. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, millions of families have struggled under the weight of childcare expenses. And as a father to two young children myself, I know firsthand how costly childcare can be. That's why I was proud to vote approximately 1 year ago for the expanded child tax credit as part of the historic American Rescue Plan, which has provided much needed relief for families trying to make ends meet. This legislation ensured families could get a monthly credit of $300 per child aged 0 to 5 years old and $250 per child aged 6 to 18 years old. The American Rescue Plan increased the existing annual per child tax credit of $2,000 to $3,600 for each child below the age of 6 and $3,000 for each child between the ages of 6 and 17. These savings have helped working families pay for education, groceries, and other overwhelming costs that come with raising children. In all, the child tax credit has been a historic achievement in our nation's families. It has delivered over $166 million in tax cuts to more than 77,000 hardworking families in North County, San Diego, and South Orange County. It has benefited 111,000 children in our community and is helping to cut our nation's child poverty rate in half, including lifting a staggering 10,300 children in our district out of poverty. Many families will see even more tax cuts when they file their taxes this year. And today, we'll learn more about the child tax credit so that families receive the full credit available to them. As always, my office is here to be a resource for you in this process. If you have any questions about the child tax credit or about something else we discussed today, please reach out to my office at 760-599-5000, and we'll be more than happy to assist you. Now I'd like to introduce Congressional District Liaison Brian Wozniak, who covers Arizona, California, and Nevada with the IRS's Legislative Affairs Division. Brian, I'll turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, Congressman Levin, and thank you for the opportunity to share this important information with your constituents. The child tax credit helps families with qualifying children get a tax break, and you may be able to claim the credit even if you don't normally file a tax return. The American Rescue Plan made significant changes to the child tax credit this year. And the provisions in the American Rescue Plan provide the largest child tax credit ever, and it provides historic relief to most working families. The 2021 American Rescue Plan made 6 key changes to the credit. Let's talk a little more about these changes and what the requirements are. Slide 2, qualifying age. For the tax year 2021 only, the American Rescue Plan raises the eligible age for the child tax credit to age 17. It was previously age 16. And we're looking at a child's age as of December 31st, 2021. So if the child is under age 18 at the very end of the year, they can qualify for the credit. Slide 3, the maximum credit amount. Again, for 2021 only, the American Rescue Plan increased the child tax credit. The credit will now allow families to receive a total of $3,000 for qualifying children under age 18 and up to $3,600 for qualifying children under age 6. And you can see on the slide, it was previously a maximum of $2,000. Slide 4, income limits and the credit phase out. The child tax credit is subject to a modified adjusted gross income limit. And basically the maximum credit starts to phase out once these modified adjusted gross income amounts are exceeded. And to receive the full enhanced credit of $3,000 or $3,600 per child, the taxpayer's modified adjusted gross income needs to be equal to or less than the amount in column A. So for example, you can see there on the first row, The amount of income a single person can have and still receive the full credit is $75,000. And if the person's income is above the limit, then the credit is gradually reduced to the amount shown in column B. Slide 5, a major change. The credit is refundable. The American Rescue Plan makes the child tax credit fully refundable. So even if someone has a zero tax liability, they don't owe any money, the taxpayer will generally receive the full credit as a refund. Slide 6, the earned income requirement. Again, the plan provides for another major enhancement for 2021 in that it eliminates the minimum earned income requirements for taxpayers. Previously, in order to be eligible for the refundable additional child tax credit, the taxpayer generally had to earn at least $2,500 during the year. And earned income, of course, wages, salaries, self-employment. But for the 2021 tax year, even taxpayers who have zero income may be eligible to claim the fully refundable child tax credit for their qualifying children. Slide 7, residency. The taxpayer must have a principal place of residence in the United States for more than half of the year. That's the basic requirement. There are some exceptions for military personnel as well as residents of Puerto Rico. And I should clarify just on this residency test that if a taxpayer does not meet the residency test, they can still claim the full amount of the child tax credit. Say someone's living overseas, an American national living overseas, they can still get the child tax credit and they can use it to reduce the amount of tax they owe. But if they didn't live in the US for at least half of the year, then it may not be refundable to them. Slide 8, taxpayer identification number. The person or persons claiming the credit must have a social security number or individual tax identification number. So you and your spouse, if married filing jointly, must have a social security number or an IRS individual taxpayer identification number, an ITIN. And just to clarify, to receive the child tax credit, you must have the SSN or ITIN that was issued before the due date of the return. Slide 9, qualifying child requirements. So the qualifying child must meet all of these conditions. The child must be claimed as a dependent on your return. The child must be under age 18 at the end of 2021. The child must meet one of the relationship tests, and there's a complete list of all the qualifying relationships on irs.gov. And the qualifying child must have lived with you for at least half of the year. And there's some exceptions for that, including for children of divorced or separated parents, or if the child is away on a temporary absence. Slide 10 lists some additional requirements for qualifying children. The first one there, support. The child can't be paying for more than half of his or her own support. If the child's paying for more than half of their support, you can't claim them. The second item there, joint return, doesn't usually apply, but the child, if they are married, and keep in mind, they have to be under age 18, but if it's someone who's under age 18 and married, they generally cannot file a married filing joint tax return for the year. The third item, the child must be a U.S. citizen, U.S. national, or U.S. resident. And last, the child must have a valid Social Security number. Now, the child themselves, again, we're talking a valid Social Security number. It's issued by Social Security Administration and is valid for employment in the U.S. Slide 11, advance child tax credit payments. Some individuals received up to half of the child tax credit in advance with monthly payments that began last year between July and December. if you receive some of those advanced child tax credit payments, then you will need to reconcile these payments with the total amount of the child tax credit that you can properly claim on your 2021 return. And it's important that you reflect the correct amount of the advance payments you received. Otherwise, your tax return may and most likely will be delayed. Now, generally, most individuals who receive these advance payments receive less than they were entitled to because we only sent up to half of the amount that we could calculate they were entitled to. So if you receive less than half or less than the full amount than you're eligible for, you will claim a credit for the remaining amount on your 2021 return. And if you didn't receive any advance child tax credit payments and you have qualifying children, then you will want to file a tax return to claim the credit. And for those people that received advance payments, you can see the last item on the slide there. We recently mailed a letter number 6419-6419, which shows the amount of your child tax, of the advanced child tax credit payments that you received. And you will want to keep that letter with your tax records, refer to it when you file your return. So slide 12, let's look at some resources. In closing, the child tax credit, it's claimed on line 28 of the Form 1040. But taxpayers must also file the Schedule 8812, and that schedule is titled Credits for Qualifying Children with Other Dependents. And that's used to calculate both the child tax credit, the additional child tax credit, and report those advance payments. If you look at the slide at the top, you have the irs.gov website, you have a keyword search, and I put several keywords in quotation marks. So you could go to irs.gov, just type in child tax credit. It will bring you to a series of links that talk about what it is, what the requirements are, frequently asked questions, how to claim it, etc. You could search for the Schedule 8812 and look at the schedule itself. The third item down is not directly related to the child tax credit, but I certainly want to mention the Schedule LEP, which stands for Limited English Proficiency. If English is a second language to you, or perhaps a friend, family member, neighbor, etc., we want to let you know that the IRS publishes many forms and instructions in up to 21 languages. If you want to start getting forms and instructions in a language other than English, you simply file a Schedule LEP with your tax return, and we'll send you those forms in that language if we have it available. We have most basic forms and instructions available, more complex ones, a little more difficult. Then the fourth item right below that, many irs.gov web pages are available in up to 8 languages. So we just don't have English. We have Spanish, we have Chinese traditional, Chinese simplified, Russian, Vietnamese, Korean, Haitian, etc. You can change the language on irs.gov in up to 8 languages. And the last 3 items on the slide talk about where you can get some help. You could, if you want to do your taxes for free online, you can use the free file system. Just go to irs.gov, type in those words, free file. Your income generally needs to be under $73,000 to qualify to use that. And you can prepare and file your return online. Second to last, we have the VITA program. You could type in VITA. That is our volunteer income tax assistance program. If your income is under $58,000, you can go and schedule an in-person appointment and meet with someone who will help you prepare and file your return. And they also provide tax counseling. And if you need to meet with us in person, you can search TAC, T-A-C, which stands for Taxpayer Assistance Center, or you could simply type contact my local office. So with that, we don't want to take up too much time. Let's move on to slide 13 and take some questions from the constituents.
Well, thank you very much, Brian, for all that important information. I do have some questions we've gotten from people in our community about the tax credit, and I'm hoping you can answer some of them before we wrap up. First, does everyone in the family need to have a Social Security number to qualify for the child tax credit?
It's a great question. And the answer is no. Everyone does not need to have a Social Security number. There's some confusion on this point. The person who is claiming the credit, they and their spouse, if they're married filing joint, must have a social security number or an individual tax identification number, an ITIN. And they need to have it again by the due date of the return. That's for the person who is claiming the credit. But the qualifying child or children that they're claiming, the child themselves must have a valid social security number. The child cannot have an ITIN. So person claiming it, SSN or ITIN, but the child themselves, valid SSN.
Thank you for that. Will receiving the 2021 child tax credit or advanced child tax credit payments affect someone's immigration status or ability to get a green card?
No, not at all. And under the current law, receiving the child tax credit or any federal credits for that matter that you're eligible for does not affect your immigration status. It doesn't affect the ability to get a green card. It will not affect your ability for future immigration benefits. They don't look at the federal tax credits. It's not considered for purposes of U.S. citizenship and immigration services.
And can the advanced child tax credit payments or tax refund affect someone's government benefits?
No. Advanced child tax credit payments or the child tax credit payment itself cannot be counted as income when these other agencies are trying to determine if anyone else is eligible for benefits or assistance or how much you can receive. And it basically, under any federal program or state or local program for that matter, they're generally financed with federal funds. If they're financed with federal funds, no, it cannot be used in any determination for government benefits.
And finally, if someone didn't file a federal tax return and did not receive advanced child tax credit payments during 2021, can they still receive that money now?
Yes, they can still receive the money now. If you didn't receive the advanced child tax credit payments, you can claim the full amount of the credit on your tax return, on your 2021 return, assuming you meet all the eligibility requirements. Even if you don't normally file a return, you can be eligible and get it refunded. I should state there is a 3-year statute of limitations to claim your refund. So you have 3 years from this April 18th to claim it, but don't wait. If you're eligible, claim it, claim the full child tax credit, simply file your 2021 return, include the Schedule 8812 and claim it on line 28 of your 1040 and use those other resources we reference. You have free tax filing, you have tax counseling, IRS.gov website, the Congressman's office, contact the aides or myself or the IRS or Taxpayer Advocate Service. We're here to help you.
Well, thank you so much, Brian, for answering all those questions and for sharing this important information. And as you said, we are here to help. Thanks so much.